Hi there, I'm Hugh from Poderation. If you like today's show, why not check out Dungeons and Dragonfruits, the bizarre, strange, and queer in every sense of the word D&D podcast. Join 5 friends as they laugh, learn, and adventure their way through the weird, wonderful world of Widdershins, where dragons hatch from trees and have adventures of all forms in every shape and size. Available wherever you can get your podcasts.
Hey there, this is Wythe Marshall from the Stillfleet Studio. We put together a little podcast called Why We Roll, and now we're very proud to be part of the network Poderation. So if you're listening to one of Poderation's other great shows, and you're interested in TTRPGs specifically, that's tabletop role-playing games, you might be interested in our show. Why We Roll is all about how you make TTRPGs, what makes them fun, different kinds of stories you can tell with TTRPGs, and even the business, so the practical advice side. So if any of that sounds appealing, whether you're a GM, you want to design your homebrew game, or you're interested in getting in the industry, why don't you head over to Why We Roll, check us out. We really, really appreciate it, and keep making awesome stuff.
Hey, Bandit, me and Fred's got a question.
What do you and Fred want?
How come we doing this?
Well, why not?
Well, they said it couldn't be done.
Well, that's the reason, son.
3 movies that have changed your life.
How long have you been a robber?
4'1".
Good Lord. Jolly good. 4'1".
Yes.
Well, that is a long time.
3 movies that have changed your life.
John, I want this material burned. All of it.
Welcome to another Britflix.com podcast. My name's Stuart Wright, and today's guest is Cameron Francis, the writer, director, and star of the micro-budget thriller Cover. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Really great to be here.
My pleasure. You're here to give us a bit of an insight into the making of Cover, and also with a little bit of news from Frightfest 2026, and to share 3 movies that have changed your life. Does that sound like what you've signed up for?
That sounds exactly like what I signed up for. Yeah, it's great.
Right then, before we delve into what happened with Cover, do you want to tell us your news, what's coming at Frightfest in 2026 this year?
Yeah, I'm really thrilled because, so as you mentioned, my first movie Cover was a micro-budget DIY movie that I made with some friends. And so following year, we made another film, and that one's called Blood Secret. It is a horror film. And we will be at Frightfest we're actually, it's a world premiere at Frightfest, and we're going to be opening night. So opening night, Discovery Screen 2 at 10:45 p.m. is going to be the world premiere of Blood Secret, and I'm thrilled about it. I mean, it's Frightfest is a fantastic festival. I was there last year with Cover, and I'm thrilled to be back again this year with this film. And not only is it great to see my movie on the big screen, but it is just a great festival to see all kinds of great horror and thrillers and all that stuff there. So
indeed.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
So if we go back to Cover then, you wrote and directed this. So in terms of the story and as a screenwriter thinking about this, what for you was the kernel of the idea that you had that led us to the film Cover we can see today on Tubi?
Yeah, so really interesting because what it was I made a bunch of short films I started doing it back in 2020 during COVID.
Okay.
One-man band, short films, writing, directing, starring, just, everything in my apartment by myself.
Got you.
And I'd always wanted to be a filmmaker, but until, the technology hit kind of critical mass within the last decade, it was kind of difficult before that to be a filmmaker because, it's expensive. I mean, making movies costs money.
Indeed,
but, Steven, Soderbergh was making Unsane on an iPhone and other people doing iPhone movies. And I thought, well, I've got an iPhone and I've got a MacBook. Why can't I make a movie? So I just started researching, like a lot of people do now. You go to the school of YouTube and research, well, how do I, do this? And how do I film at 24 frames a second on my phone and do exposure and stuff like that? And so you just start researching it, just started doing it. And then I made about 9 shorts within, 2 or 3 year period. And then I said, you know what? I'm over 50. I need to, if I want to make a film, I just got to do it. So I decided, okay, I'm going to make a feature film. What's it going to be about? And I said, well, it has to be, I got to write around what I have. I have a car. I have parking lots around my house. I have access, I could probably rent a motel room. So I just started writing a script around locations that were either cheap or free. And so I wrote around that. And then I have, fortunately, because I work at Universal Orlando, and I'm a performer and I know a lot of other performers.
Yeah.
I had so many talented friends that I could just ask, like, hey, do you want to be in a movie? And I said, I'll pay you, not much, but I'll pay you. And they said, yes. So basically that's how it came about. I just wanted to I've always loved thrillers and horror films. And I thought, well, I'll do a thriller. And that's how it started. And I self-financed. I had done a couple of commercials. So I took some of the residuals from that and put it in the movie. But the movie only cost about $4,475, I want to say is the actual official number. So it was very, very, very inexpensive. And I did everything.
So when obviously you've basically sort of listed the constraints you were working with in a sense.
Yeah.
So when you've assessed those constraints and you get into the creativity of what thriller then can I write, where does the idea come for cover then? Where does that start as an idea?
So that started with, I wanted to write about a guy, who's driving around a lot. Because again, I knew I could film my car. And I thought, what's he going to do? Okay, maybe he's like a salesman or something. And I thought, well, what if he goes around to conventions and sells stuff? And then I thought, well, what could he sell? And I thought, is he a coin collector? And I'm like, yeah, but then I got to find coins. And that sounds complicated. And then I thought about stamps. And I thought, oh, stamps can be valuable. And I thought maybe he's a stamp collector who goes around to stamp conventions and sells stuff. Because stamps I can print up on my printer at home. I can just find images of stamps and that cost me nothing.
Yeah.
So he became a stamp collector because of it.
Okay.
And then I came across this wild story that actually happened about these astronauts who unethically took a bunch of envelopes up to the moon and stamped them to sell covertly on the side. This happened in the early 70s with the Apollo mission. And they weren't allowed to do it. So it was like these envelopes are worth a ton of money. And I thought, well, that's a cool story. So then that's how that element came into the plot.
What then, once you started getting going on it and the nature of what you were going to do to produce it, what do you remember being the storytelling challenges for you, pulling the script together for that?
The challenges were basically, the challenges of only having certain locations, only having a very short amount of time, because I wasn't paying my actors a ton of money. So I was like, being an actor myself, I know what it's like to work for very little money for long, long hours. I'm like, I don't want to do that. These guys are my friends. I want to make sure that I'm respecting their time. So the idea was that we only had very short amount of times to shoot because I didn't want to interfere too much with their day jobs. Yeah. Because I don't want to take real money from them. So we just the challenge became writing scenes that we could do quickly and efficiently, and still tell the full story. And I made a lot of mistakes. I mean, when I watched the movie, I cringe at a lot of things and go, oh, I should have done that and that. But it was a learning process the whole time because we were flying through this stuff. I will say this, the one thing I did learn was that I wrote the script and then right the day before we're going to shoot something, I would get really insecure. I would go, oh, this is too many lines. It's too long. I need to cut this. So I would cut it down and then we'd film it. Well, I wound up cutting, I think, some really important stuff that if I had left it in and just done the scene, left it long, and maybe later on I could have pulled some stuff out. But I think I pre-edited too much. Okay. I think I should have let some of these longer scenes play out on camera. And then if need be, trim some fat. Because the problem is when you need a piece of exposition and it's not there, then you're just, well, it's not there. I don't have it. I didn't get it on film. So I think second myself about the writing process was something I probably shouldn't have done as much. I think I did a little too much. Yeah.
And was it always, when it was on the page, was it always the non-linear tale, the kind of, here's one point of view and here's the second point of view? Absolutely.
That was, I love films that jump, that where the timelines go back and forth and stuff. Yeah. I love stuff like that. So yeah, absolutely. It was this whole thing of, I wanted the film to start going one way, and you're like, okay, I'm not really sure what's going on, but all right. And then suddenly you're like, oh no, wait, this is a whole different thing going on, so yeah, that was definitely the idea. Yeah, that was there from the jump.
Now, there's a couple of, actually, before I get into some couple little details, I suppose then with it always being that non-linear thing, and like you said, you maybe self-edited too much too soon, but when you got into the edit, what new story stuff did you discover that wasn't evident to you when it was on the page? Was any what came out of that process?
I think that's a good question. What discuss, because a lot of the time, most of the time when I was editing, I was like, damn, I should have gotten more. So I was using a lot, it was not so much, it was, I say, let me think for a second. Because a lot of the stuff was just how it was on the page. I think there were definitely some improvised moments and some funny moments that I didn't think were as funny as they would be on screen, that I actually let play out, to let the humor play out a little bit. That definitely happened.
Can you give me an example of one of those where you left it in?
Catherine had some really funny improvisations. There's this part where, like, I'm trying to grab this envelope from her, and she's like, this is not the exact thing she says, but so like, whoa, man, chill kind of attitude. And it was great. It wasn't in the script. It was very funny. And so I made sure we left that in, and some other really good kind of funny moments. Some just, sometimes it's just a little thing. It could just be a little look or a little beat that I hadn't thought about. But, discovering in the edit, I'm like, oh, wait, no, that's actually great. I need to linger on that longer. But overall, I mean, there was a lot that, I was just trying to basically, I was actually trying to fill in some blanks with editing that we didn't get. So basically I was trying to, sometimes as you do, you create moments that aren't necessarily in the script. And it's interesting because I did that a lot more in Blood Secret than I did in Cover. Okay. I found moments and shots where, I was like, I didn't quite get that look. Well, what can I use over here what shot could I manipulate, or could I reverse? Which I love actually reversing film, because it's interesting how sometimes, like, if you want a character to look at someone and then look down, but all you have is a shot of them looking down and then looking up. You just reverse the film and then you've got the shot.
Film's always is a sequence of moments, and obviously some moments resonate with you. Yeah. When we're in the thick of it all, there's a moment that I thought was really powerful. There's no dialogue to it. It's when you get to the motel, and we've established you're in two separate rooms, and then it's the first time I think that you've been on your own properly since you picked up your passenger, and you sit on the bed, and you've got the bag on the other bed, and you just it's just a beat. You're just like, and it is, you can read the scene as, what the fuck is going on? Is this going to end or what?
Yeah. You're absolutely right. And it's funny. And I'm glad you brought that up, because that is a moment that I wasn't really, I don't know if I improvised that shot. It might've been in the script, but I definitely let it hang a lot longer than I had any intention.
Yeah, it does. It really sort of lets you watch it, because there's nothing happening in the frame. It's just, you're forced to look at what you're doing.
Yeah, and I remember because I did the moment, and I had the camera set up in the room, and I was like literally by myself at that point, because we had that room, man, by the way, was rough, and we actually stayed at my girlfriend and I stayed the night in that room, and it was a rough night. That was, when you want to keep your budget low, you're like, well, I need a motel room. What's the cheapest motel room I can find? Woof, that one was cheap. But anyway. So I was there. It was early in the morning. I was like, I got to get this shot of me. So I set up the camera, just a static shot. And I just played out the moment. I was like, okay, well, I'll cut that somewhere, whatever. But then when I was watching it, it's like you said, like, there's this like sort of contemplative look to it that I was like, well, that's interesting. You know what? Maybe I'm let that linger longer than I had any intention to. So I think I cut it. I think what happens is I kind of look down, and I think I cut it, a few beats after I look down. And because originally it was just put the thing on the bed, sit down, sigh, and then I was gonna maybe cut from that. But I'm glad you brought that up, because that's a great example.
Now this might just be the screenwriter in me, but I think the idea of the squirrels lingered in my mind a bit too long, because I was thinking, what's going to be the payoff to the squirrels then? And then it was like, obviously, I began to realize there is no payoff to the squirrels. It's a great story.
The whole point of that was more just to establish that this guy's just never, ever at his house.
Yeah.
And so this is just a comedic moment. Yeah, nothing ever really comes of the squirrels. Again, this is the whole like, well, I don't have money to show his apartment, so I'll just have them call, and there's this weird story.
No, it's effective. It just was like that idea. I was thinking, surely he's going to get another phone call to say that the squirrels have destroyed the apartment now or something. Because and then the other bit was just the other bit that kind of, and this is more about the climax of the movie, and I won't spoil too much, but I did like the way you set up the hammer in the room, like the way that comes in, the way that is available. It was a really nice sequence. Nice, obviously, it's a horrifying sequence in what happens, but
I know what you mean, though. Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, that was again. Well, that was a scene too that because of time and time and lack of resources was cut way down from what it was supposed to be. I had a much more elaborate sequence plan there, but I was like, we're running out of time. I just got to film what I can.
Yeah.
But I made sure the whole hammer thing. I was like, this. I mean, it's simple, but we'll just hammer, close up of hammer, and then later on she just. And so there was a much more elaborate thing, but I like the simplicity of it. I mean, it's just very clear. It's not fancy, but it gets the job done. So
indeed.
Yeah.
Now I should add that obviously that one of the reasons I got in touch with you because I was following what you were doing on Instagram. That was kind of where I come across the movie. You're behind the scenes voiceover as to how you did it, and the one I think I responded to was the plastic bag on the head. And I was genuinely amazed at the complexity of what seems a really obvious thing. And obviously the consideration you had to make for a public space. So you had to go into your own garden or somebody's get to do the more violent moments. But obviously if you see the sky, the cut looks like we're still in the car park.
Yeah. I was really pleased with how that came out. Because I knew I was, I was like, I'm yes, in general, people tend to, we go about our daily lives, we're looking at our phones, we don't look at stuff. But I was like, I don't know, man. I don't want to throw a plastic bag over someone's head in public and possibly have a child see it, because a camera there, we were very discreet filming everywhere because I had no permit. So I had my camera. I didn't have anything. It wasn't decked out. It was just a small Lumix S5. It's not a huge camera. And just lav mics. And so we were filming, but it was kind of covertly filming. So I didn't want anyone to panic. So we basically cut it so that it looks like she throws the bag over his head, but then we filmed the actual bag over the head in a more secluded location here where I live. When you cut it right, it looks like it's the same.
No, you wouldn't have known. I mean, it was really like being shown The Wizard of Oz behind the curtain, really, if I'm honest with you.
Yeah. It's funny. Someone mentioned like, oh, you do a lot of editing in camera. And I was like, yeah, I do. I never thought about it, but I actually do. And again, that's due to time. And, you just, when you don't have time for stuff, I have to constantly think, okay, well, if I shoot this like this, then I can cut to this over here. And it'll all hopefully look good. And it did. So
nothing wrong with that. Mr. Hitchcock did exactly that when he was shooting his movies. There's a tale of him on set where the editor is telling him, I don't know, he's worried because he says, you've got these blurs on all your footage, all your rushes. And Alfred Hitchcock goes, no, that's where I want you to edit it. Because apparently he'd been just wafting his hand over the lens.
Oh, that's great. I've never heard that story. That's
yeah. Thank you for sharing that bit of insight into the making of Cover and your brilliant news about this year's Frightfest. I'll put links in the show notes to obviously Tubi and to the ticket sales for Frightfest, and also to your Instagram, where there's other behind the scenes kind of stories about cover as well, as we move seamlessly into 3 movies that have changed your life. So for those that haven't heard this before, Cameron's given me 3 movies. We'll do them in the order that Cameron gave them me. We're going to do each one 5 minutes per film, no more. And when we hear this sound, you can hear that at your end, okay, Cameron?
Sure can.
Right. When we hear that sound, that'll mean 5 minutes are up. And I'll allow room for finishing thoughts and stuff. But yeah, generally that means it's time for us to move on to the next film. Okay, let us begin. Clock is ticking. And first up is one of Andrei Tarkovsky's 10 favourite films and the greatest film ever made, according to Susan Sontag, Ingmar Bergman's 1966 psychological thriller Persona. A nurse is put in charge of a mute actress and finds their personas are melding together. Fun facts, when the film was completed, the 2 main actresses, Bibi Andersson and Liv Ullmann, and Bergman's cinematographer, Sven Nilkvist, all left immediately to go to other jobs, leaving Ingmar Bergman alone and severely depressed, dreading a return to the theatre in Stockholm, which is hardly surprising when you consider that he also said he fell in love with Liv Ullmann during the making of the movie. So tell me, why did Persona have such an impact on you?
All right. So this is really interesting. This actually ties into my new movie, Blood Secret, because I saw this film last year for the first time. I'd never seen it. What happened was, and I do this sometimes, I will just go on HBO Max. I don't know if you guys have HBO in the UK. Yeah. So, and they have a TCM, the Turner Classic Movies section. And I'll just go in there and go, all right, what's something I haven't seen that I've heard is great? Haven't seen it. So I was just clicking around and thought, Persona. I've always heard good things about this. Don't know anything about it. Literally nothing. I'm just going to turn it on. Watched it, hit restart and watched it immediately again.
No way.
Because it was some movies have a seismic event on your life. This movie hit me. It just hit so hard. And it's funny because I just finished the script to Blood Secret, which is about 2 women in a house dealing with past secrets and stuff and trauma. And I'm watching this movie going, it's not the same thing as my movie, obviously, but there's similarities. And I was like, this is, and it wasn't just that though. It was that the movie itself, it is about, it's such a cliche to say, the filmmaker did a movie about making movies. But he did. Bergman does this thing in this 60-year-old movie. It feels so fresh and so contemporary. And it starts off with literally you see the light in the projector start and the film starts spindling through the reel. And you're like, we are literally watching a movie about movies and these weird images and you're cutting to weird stuff. And then all of a sudden it's this psychological drama starts. That's like, is this thing a dream? Is this real? What the hell is happening? And the visuals blew me away, the way it's filmed. And I hadn't started filming Blood Secret yet, but the way he filmed these 2 actresses, their faces overlapping at times, I was like, I'm not going to steal specific shots, but there are moments that are completely inspired me when making the movie to film them a certain way and split, one face here and another face here and kind of cutting the other one off. It just was sort of mind blowing. And, So it's weird because, I thought I had seen all the movies that had influenced me in my life. I don't know. I'm 55 years old. I thought, I've seen a lot of these. This thing just, I immediately bought the Criterion disc. I was like, I am obsessed with this movie because it's fascinating and the acting is unreal, but it's also kind of inscrutable on another level, which is part of the fun of it because you're watching it and you're like, I get some of this. I don't get all of it. I got to watch it again to see if I can keep unpacking what this is. And
I think it's interesting given what you saw with the parallels with what you were making, and it's almost like like the world, like your antenna was open because of what you were doing, and obviously you're making unconscious, conscious decisions that led you to that film, like.
I mean, I'm not one that I don't believe in divine intervention, but I'm like, there's some reason why I just saw this movie literally after I had probably finished writing the first draft, and like I saw it maybe 2 weeks later, and I'm like, what the hell? I was like, this is wild. In fact, if you watch my movie, like it might seem obvious that it was an inspiration on some level, but even though I didn't change the script, I mean, I did rewrite it, but I didn't change it like, that much. But because there is certain similarities, that contains location. It is just like Persona, one location. There's a beach in my movie. There's a beach in this movie. It's just crazy. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those films where I feel like I could watch this thing 50 more times and never completely understand it, but at the same time, just I fall in love with it every time I see it. So it's one of those. It's exciting when you know.
Indeed. Well, look, there's 5 minutes.
Like that. Sorry, I heard the buzzer. I was like, I don't know if I should keep talking, but yeah, it was just very exciting. When you mine new, not new films, but to you new films, as you go on, it's just so exciting. Really, it makes you fall in love with movies.
I read something about Stanley Kubrick and he talked about he hated maybe too strong a word, but he hated following recommendations. He preferred the path of where one thing you watch or read leads you to another thing that you watch or read, and that becomes because we like that sense of ownership and discovery. I think is an important part of like you obviously now literally own it, but mentally you own Persona as a film. It's important to you. And if I'd have spoke to you 12 months ago, it wouldn't. It would have. It would have barely registered as a film. You knew it existed, but
yeah. Because I mean, you hear about it. You're like, oh yeah, Ingmar Bergman, Persona, cool. But I do, and I do that. I think Kubrick is right. I do that all the time. I'll just like kind of go. I'll go on my. On the streaming services, I'm like, all right, I heard some of this old movie. I'm going to check it out, whatever. And sometimes it's not so great. Sometimes it's amazing like this, so it's kind of fun, I think, discovering movies that way,
And also because we're in that, we have that benefit of there's been so much made now. It's impossible to keep up. I mean, I remember in terms of you like to sort of swap Ingmar Bergman stories, Hour of the Wolf blew me out the water, and then to realize it was such an old movie from Ingmar Bergman. I was like, but I haven't seen that. Oh, I mean, it's just it's a horror film in the sense that it's full of the uncanny and a bit spooky, but it's just a lot more than that. And that's, again, you don't understand all of it, but that doesn't stop you coming back for more.
No. And I will say that while Persona, definitely not a horror film, there are some very creepy moments in it. It's like kind of like, horror, like as the kids say, low key horror a little bit.
Well, I mean, psychological thriller, psychological drama, and then we have this sort of term that I'm guessing is used. I feel like is used because people don't admit they're like horror, is the elevated genre thing, the whole kind of art house genre, whatever you want to call it. But anyway, let us move 100%. On to your second choice, which is a Coen Brothers movie from 1991, Barton Fink, starring John Turturro as a renowned New York playwright who is enticed to California to write for the movies and discovers the hellish truth about the Hollywood system. Fun facts, the spooky Hotel Earl of the film was compared to a ghost ship by Joel Coen. In his conception, the main character would notice signs of a presence of other passengers without ever laying eyes on any. And because Barton Fink is constantly bitten by mosquitoes during the film and he attempts to kill them in return, this I found weird, the Coen brothers were contacted by an animal rights group to express concern about how the mosquitoes are treated, which that's a first for me. But tell me, why did Barton Fink have such an impact on you?
Yeah, well, with Coen brothers, it's hard because I could probably pick almost any of their films and be like, this film rocked my world. Like this one, again, I picked because it had a little bit of an influence on Blood Secret. It, the whole beach, the creepy beach aspect of it. I have a creepy beach aspect in my movie. And it was directly influenced by just thinking about Barton Fink. I mean, the thing in my movie is really nothing like Barton Fink at all. But it's again, it's like you're saying, like it's like a jumping off point. It's like one thought leads to another, and you're like, God, that there's something about that image at the end of Barton Fink of that woman on the beach. It just kind of stuck with me, and I thought, oh, and it kind of led me to this other thing that I put in my where something creepy is on the beach. But overall, I would say Barton Fink. It was. I remember when it came out because it was 1991, and the year before was Miller's Crossing.
Yeah,
which is another one that blew my mind. I loved Miller. It's still probably one of my favorites. And then Barton Fink comes out like a year later, which for them was pretty quick. Back then, they were releasing movies every like once.
They wrote. I can't remember which way around it is. They wrote one of those two films almost got written concurrent because of delays on one of them led to them. Which is why they ended up with such a fast turnaround compared to normal. Yeah. And I feel like they're kind of a piece in the sense that they both take place in the 30s. I believe they're both. Yeah, I think, they're both in the 30s. They both have this snappy dialogue that it's so beautiful. I love it so much. It's so funny. But Barton Fink, whereas Miller's Crossing is, they're both very deep, contemplative movies, but Barton Fink has this thing where, again, we're talking like it's almost like a horror movie because it's really disturbing at times. I mean, it's pitch black, it's dark, and it literally goes to really, really dark places. I mean, the camera literally goes down a drain at one point, a dark drain where you hear screaming and like the sounds of hell, the bowels of hell, which the hotel itself is like hell, but everything about the peeling wallpaper, It's one of those films where it's like the dialogue is sharp as a tack. And I quote Barton Fink all the time because there's so many quotable lines, but also the visuals of it are just beyond phenomenal. Like they take this contained hotel space and it's literally dripping with atmosphere. Like literally the wallpaper has like ooze coming out of it. That's how much it's dripping. Oh, it's amazing. It's like something like Cronenberg has done the wallpaper.
Oh, absolutely. Cronenberg's a great example. So it's just one of those films where I saw and I went, right. So these guys, it's this 1-2 punch. You did Miller's Crossing and then you do this. And it's like, I don't know, they both just rocked my world in incredible ways back then. It really influenced me, deep in the recesses. I don't think it influenced me like right away, but I think just having those movies in the back of my head, for a very long time, they've really
I think one of the things that stood out for me was, certainly as a writer, is they nail the idea of the panic that sets in when you don't know what to do, and then how your other senses take over, and everything is annoying because you're looking for a reason to not write. So your brain is giving you every opportunity. So it's like it's a curtain that's not straight. And obviously in this instance, it's the wallpaper peeling. It's the sound of the mosquito.
Yeah, I totally forgot to mention that. But yes, I mean, as someone who enjoys writing, who loves to write, like you also feel this like, oh right, like I'm not Barton, but like there's definitely elements of it, like you just said, that I can relate to as someone who's creative and
For Cameron's final choice, we were going to discuss 1987's The Stepfather, but it changed to John Carpenter's 1978 groundbreaking slasher Halloween, 15 years after murdering his sister on Halloween night, 1963. Michael Myers escapes from a mental hospital and returns to his small town to kill again. Fun facts: the story is based on an experience John Carpenter had in college, touring a psychiatric hospital, and Carpenter met a child who stared at him with a look of evil, and it terrified him. Carpenter considered the hiring of Jamie Lee Curtis as the ultimate tribute to Alfred Hitchcock, who had given her mother, Janet Leigh, legendary status in Psycho. And for the same reason, Dr. Sam Loomis is named after Sam Loomis from Psycho, which I didn't know that either. But tell me, why does Halloween have such an impact on you?
Oh, John Carpenter, man. Halloween is one of those movies where when you're starting to like get into movies and you're thinking like, someday I want to make movies, you hear about how he made Halloween which, you've seen it already at this point, right?
Yeah.
So you're just like, movie's freaking awesome. And then you hear about how he made it. You're like, yeah, man. He had like almost no money and he was raking leaves and put them in bags to reuse them. And it's amazing, his movies, and he's shooting in widescreen because he's like, hey, I don't have any money, but I want to make my movie look epic. So I'm going to shoot it in widescreen. You're like, yeah, like it makes you like love, if you love movies, like when you hear about how he did it, you just like love it even more, and it's just a great movie. I mean, on top of it, like if you knew nothing about the behind the scenes of it, you just watch this thing and you're like, this is a banger. I mean, it's so good. It's legend, And so again, like we're talking, the three movies I picked, obviously, not obviously, but because it's so hard for me to choose, like, I don't know, three movies that changed my life, I did pick films that influenced Blood Secret. And this one, I shot Blood Secret in anamorphic widescreen. I got a budget anamorphic widescreen lens. I shot it in that because I was thinking John Carpenter.
Okay.
To make it seem epic, right? And I was thinking Halloween, because Halloween looks awesome. And it just takes place in a house and in a neighborhood. It's not like there's not big sets. It's this like contained thriller that absolutely rules. And so, I mean, the widescreen aspect, the music, the fact he did the music himself, which as a kid, I don't think I knew that until I got older and really read it. And I was like, wait, what? This guy like wrote it, directed it, and did the music? I'm like, you can. Like, it's almost like when you think of movies when you're younger, you're like, right, well, everybody does their own job and all movies have big budgets. And then you find out about this stuff and it's like, no, he like did everything. Like, and you're sort of like, wow, like this is allowed? Like, like allowed to just do it all? Okay, cool. Like, maybe one day.
And to be honest with you, it's been wild in the last sort of 15 years that he's as notorious now for being a touring musician who plays, all around the world, which is kind of like, it's weird to think that caught up with him, as it were.
And it's amazing. And I mean, I'd love to see him live. I don't know if he's ever come around here, but man, I'd love to see him.
I mean, I didn't see Halloween because I was too young when it come out. I mean, I'm a year younger than you, but I was still too young by the time when it came out in 78. So I saw it. I probably saw it on VHS a number of times in the 80s.
Yeah.
But then 10 years ago, I saw it on the big screen for the first time. And it was like seeing the film for the first time all over again because it was glorious. Because obviously it takes its time, which obviously slasher films are not allowed to do anymore, really. You have to be killing and stuff. It has a sense of, trepidation and caution, which is all about the mood in a way.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing that I love about it too, is that, it does take its time. I think when we think about the film, we think about it as being a lot more going on than it does, because when you're watching it, you're almost at the hour mark before anything's really happening.
Exactly.
Like it's just building the whole time.
Yeah,
It's just tension. You're just seeing little shots, little shots of Michael. It's very simple. But then once the tension gets going, I remember, like you said, I was too young. I was probably like, 6 or 7 when it came out. And then I think the first time I saw it was on TV. And I also remember it as a kid. It was so terrifying. The image of him with the sheet over him as Bob with the glasses, which is kind of funny as an adult. But as a kid, it really disturbed the shit out of me. Oh, sorry, I don't know if I can the heck out of me. And then also the was it Annie on the bed with this tombstone? I mean, that just like, it gave me nightmares.
Finish your thought. Just finish your thought. You're right.
Yeah. So anyway, it's just, it has indelible images that are not, that it's not like he had some big budget to work with and there's no real blood in the movie. And yet, despite no gore, no big, huge set pieces, there's indelible images in that movie that are so inspiring. As a person who wants to create stuff with no money, it's like, wow, yeah, you can create things that are memorable without having huge resources.
Absolutely. Well, look, that brings us to the end of 3 movies that changed your life. Thank you for sharing those 3 stories, and thank you for giving us an insight into how you made cover and sharing with us your great news about Frightfest 2026. Do you want to remind people how they can see your new movie?
So the new film is playing at Frightfest on August 27th. Discovery Screen 2 at 10:45 p.m. So that's opening night of the festival. And of course, Cover you can watch on Tubi, or you can also watch it on Bloodstream. Cover is also on Bloodstream, and it is available also if you want to like rent it or buy it. You can do that on like Amazon, Fandango, wherever you get your movies.
Brilliant.
Yes.
Well, look, it just gives me to say thank you very much for giving your time on the podcast.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It was a real pleasure.
Hey, Bandit, me and Fred's got a question.
What do you and Fred want?
How come we doing this?
Well, why not?
Well, they said it couldn't be done.
Well, that's the reason, son.
3 movies that have changed your life.
How long have you been a robber?
4'1".
Good Lord. Jolly good. 4'1".
Yes.
Well, that is a long time.
3 movies that have changed your life.
John, I want this material burned. All of it.
Hey there, Hugh from Poderation here. If you like today's show, then we think you will love Punch and Roll for Initiative, the other D&D show by a bunch of nerdy-ass voice actors. Join a brand new show from the ground up with a cast full of professional voice talent as they make their own adventures in a custom-made fantasy world. If you want to hear more, check out our website at poderation.com.